What resources right now are dedicated to the Bills games?
Well, we have and control all of we have an inner perimeter, for lack of a better term, like a middle perimeter and an outer perimeter. And the resources that we have are obviously Erie County Sheriff's deputies. We work with the Orchard Park Police, the New York State Police, and some of the federal agents.
And can more be done? What do you think, in your opinion, can be done additionally to curb some of the behaviors that we're seeing?
Can we do more as an agency or law enforcement? I don't think so. Okay, we can't directly control the actions of those that attend the games. We're there to provide and ensure a safe environment so the fans have that ultimate game day experience. And unfortunately, at these mass gatherings, there are those that like to intrude on others' rights to have that ultimate game day experience. And those are the subjects that we deal with. In this past game against the Saints, we only had 9 of those interactions. When you're talking nearly 70,000 people getting together and there are a total of 9 arrests, that's fairly low number.
And that's not including the behaviors that are happening off of Bill's property, correct?
Yeah, correct. Again, if anything off of Bill's property would be the Orchard Park Police Department, and they would handle those, whether they're accidents, whether they're fights or disorderly conducts. Orchard Park, and I can't speak to how many arrests they have, but the Sheriff's Office, we provide all the security, including traffic control, along with security in each and every one of the Bill's lots. So our units are out there, they're marked for a reason. We want high visibility, we want that to be a deterrent, and we want those fans that are there that aren't looking to infringe on everybody else's right to have a good time, to feel comfortable and safe while they're there.
In your experience, how has the rise of social media impacted fan behavior? Because now instantly we're seeing the people jumping onto the tables, and a lot of that is happening on private property, so it's not happening on a Bills lot. But when you're seeing that, how does that make you feel, somebody in the law enforcement community, to know that that behavior's out there and some people are celebrating it?
Yeah. Well, that's a double-edged sword, actually. Okay, sometimes we also monitor social media sites. Okay, so that gives us a handle on exactly what is happening, whether it's on Bill's property or off Bill's property. And then when we meet with the Bills and the security team, we make and adjust every game based on what we see and where it's happening. For instance, we did see 2 games ago that there was disorderly conduct, let's say, in the bus lot, and we focused our efforts there. And in working with the Buffalo Police Department and the commissioner, he was gracious enough to allow us to use their police skywatch, which is nothing more than a mobile tower that we set up in the Bills lot that puts you high in the air and gives us a bird's eye view of what's taken place. So what we weren't able to see in previous games, these last 2 games we've been able to see. So the arrest numbers are slightly higher, but that's because we're doing, quite frankly, a better job, and we're now able to see what once we couldn't, and we're making arrests or making ejections, in fact, in certain circumstances where we didn't 3 games ago.
Are you satisfied with your relationship with the Bills and how they are enforcing and putting that code of conduct out there?
Yes, absolutely. Without the code of conduct, there's certain actions that we see take place that we could not arrest a fan for. But because of the code of conduct, and whether it's no glass or any type of disruptive or disorderly conduct, it allows us at the very minimum to eject them off of the Bills property. And the relationship between the Sheriff's Office and the Bills has never been better. They support us 100%, and I personally reach out before fans are ejected or buses are ejected. I run through the scenario. Sometimes it's more than 1 interaction with a particular bus, and we have always received the support that we need. So we're very happy with that.
With that Skywatch situation, you said you're able to monitor the buses better now. Talk about how you've been able to make sure buses with people with bad behavior maybe aren't following the code of conduct. Have you kicked any of them off and told them you are not welcome to come back to games?
We have ejected a total of 4 buses in the last 2 games. And that was because there was conduct that was in violation of the Buffalo Bills fan code of conduct. We advised them to cease, and we came back a second, and once we come back the second time, we make the phone call to the Bills. We get the authority from the property owner to make that ejection, and those ejections were made. And again, they support us 100%. We're going to continue doing that. We are going to have, for the rest of the season, access to the Buffalo Police Sky Tower, and it's a very valuable resource and asset.
What can you do in a situation like yesterday where you have a streaker and it's not like somebody who's trying to bring an illegal item into the stadium? And how can you tell if that person is going to do something like that? You can't. So how do you prevent that? Is that preventable, or do you just have to react?
Well, if it's on social media, let's say, and there's talk that it may happen, then we'd be extra vigilant, right? But to answer your question more directly, it's, for law enforcement, it's reactionary, okay? We can't prevent a fan, if they're bent on getting on the field, from getting onto the field. All we can do is react to what we're presented. And it's unfortunate. Last game we had 2 field intrusions, both of which were arrested. And without those 2 arrests, we would have only had 1 arrest, which was an attempted larceny of a Buffalo Bills sweatshirt. So prior to that late game event, we would have only had 1 arrest. So all in all, the Bills fans are behaving wonderfully. It only takes a couple, 1 or 2, to give this community and the Buffalo Bills and the whole venue, quite frankly, just national exposure that I think the real, true, hardened Bills fans don't deserve.
When they do get that national exposure, are you seeing fans of other teams coming just to have that experience? Because it seems like on social media, some people are saying, oh, I'm not from here, I'm just going to go and experience that game day. I guess experience is the word I'm looking for there, because of the behaviors that are posted on social media.
I don't personally see that, and I wouldn't think or suggest that my deputies would say that. We do know that there are many that attend the parking lot that don't have a ticket, okay? Yesterday, we dealt with 2 that we ejected who denied having a ticket to the game. We advised them that they were being ejected from the Bills property. We gave them a personal escort off of the Bills property, advised them not to return, that they were not welcome because of their behavior, and they eventually entered the stadium with a ticket, and we identified them on the way out, and they were subsequently both arrested for criminal trespass, which is a B misdemeanor, and they both face up to 3 months in jail for that conduct. So all of these arrests are in the hands of the district attorney's office now and the court in Orchard Park. And the biggest deterrent is going to be, some discipline, let's say, whether it's jail time, whether it's fines, because that will deter that future conduct.
What message do you have for fans and families who want to go to a Bills game and have a positive game day experience?
Well, first and foremost, I think my message for them is that it is a fan-friendly atmosphere. All the agencies are working collaboratively together to ensure your safety, and we want you to have that experience. We want you to be able to bring your kids. We feel that the atmosphere is such that you can do that, and that if you see something, say something. There's plenty of us around there. You're hard-pressed to walk around too far without seeing a uniformed police officer. That presence is there for a reason, and we're going to continue, and we're going to continue monitoring social media, and we're going to evaluate and change our protection plan as situations arise or become known to us.
Would you say that the biggest problems are off of the Bills property?
I have no comment on what happens off of the Bills property. The sheriff's office is responsible for, and we do not respond to calls for service. They go directly to the town of Orchard Park. So I'm not sure what's happening in private lots. Again, folks that want to, in a private lot, that maybe want to climb up onto a car and jump off their own car onto their own table for whatever reason, there's really no violation there unless we have a complainant, right? Without a complainant, nobody can be arrested. But, so Orchard Park is pretty much, they have a situation to deal with that the sheriff's office does not, because we simply just evict people. It's a different story on someone's private property.
So you end up having to deal with some of the people who have tickets to the game, who are partying on private property and then going into the stadium. So you've got to be able to identify any bad behaviors that continue once they get into the game.
Yeah, when they're in line, we have deputies that are actually wearing high visibility vests to be clearly seen, that are actually keeping an eye on those that are in line, looking for folks that are intoxicated, okay? If you're intoxicated, you're likely not going to make it through the line, and you're not going to make entry to the game. And that's what you risk if you're going to drink to excess and be intoxicated, because once you get in, then you can purchase additional beer, and then all you do is ruin it for those that are around you.
Do you guys have any questions?
I don't.
Okay. Franco, do you have a question? Or two?
Sheriffs who are close to the Bills property line, and let's say there's a lot right there, would that be more of a deterrent? Can sheriffs operate as a deterrent near private property?
Yep, absolutely. We have deputies that are assigned, multiple deputies, to every point of ingress and egress to each one of the Bills' own lots. If we see activity that it's taken place in front of us and we see it, we will absolutely act on that. We don't just turn a blind eye. We will notify Orchard Park. They'll start over there, and together both agencies will deal with the issue. So absolutely, the more uniform law enforcement you can put out there, the more of a deterrent it is. Ultimately, folks are there, I think, for one reason, and that's to get into the game. If you get arrested or you're intoxicated, you're likely not going to get into the game, okay? So again, I go back to 70,000+ people, and it's maybe it's more. Maybe there are 5,000 or 10,000 that show up just for the parties in the lot, okay? There were 9 arrests, okay? And those are incredible numbers. You know, back 15, 18 years ago when I started working Bills games, it was not necessarily an atmosphere that you felt comfortable or safe being at because the presence wasn't there. That's completely different now.
So you've stepped up staffing, for sure.
Without a doubt. We have SWAT teams. You walk around, you see the SWAT team, and this is what we're being presented with as law enforcement. What's happening with whether it's terrorism, okay, or whether it's just a couple attendees that are just looking to get a few moments of fame. And the more we play the videos, the more we talk about it, the more likely, in my opinion, that somebody's going to try it again. The gentleman that went on. The field intrusion, you know, he's facing more than 6 months in jail. And I think if that happens, that would be a strong deterrent. So hopefully there's the courts and how this all plays out will be the deterrent that law enforcement and the Buffalo Bills need to put this type of conduct at bay.
Is it different because the stadium's in Orchard Park and not downtown and other stadiums? Do you talk to law enforcement agencies from other NFL cities and compare notes? And how is it different having a stadium in a suburb and not in the urban area?
Well, I can't comment on how it's different because I've never worked a different one other than Orchard Park.
Yeah.
But you know, what I can tell you is, again, we talk about and it's portrayed as this crazy Animal House party festivities. And I'll tell you, I'm there, I'm boots to the ground, working with my guys, and it's everything but that. And when we see something, we take action. We're going to continue to take action, and eventually, the word's going to get out there. I don't know, maybe we ask to ban tables, right? And I don't, what do you do at that point, right? And that's really all they're doing. But we saw instances where, you know, they're lighting tables on fire.
Right.
Arrests are going to be made in that situation because that is now conduct which is over and above just violation of fan code of conduct. Okay, lighting yourself on fire, okay, and potentially lighting others on fire is beyond a violation of fan code of conduct, and you're going to get arrested for that type of behavior.
But if it's happening on private property, do you still need a complainant, or would the video be evidence enough to file charges against somebody?
You know, that's not a black and white question
Okay.
with a black and white answer. There's a lot of gray there. And again, I know the focus is maybe what's happening off, and you know, Chief Pachelik and I are in constant conversation all day long talking about different situations. And you know, they have a difficult time because they can't necessarily just drive down a driveway and start walking around private property in the backyard. Okay, where if you're on Bill's property, you're likely going to see several sheriff's deputies, and hopefully on your best behavior, and you get to go watch the game and go home at the end.
And safety, keeping everybody safe is the top priority.
That is our #1 priority. We have, you know, just looking at what's happening across the world, I'm confident that you're not going to stop everything. It's reactionary. But I'm very confident that the Sheriff's Office, in collaboration with all the other law enforcement agencies, are going to be able to respond to any type of incident that comes before us very quickly.